You had said that you moved to New Jersey
Hmm.
from New York, and you were originally from New Jersey. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting because the way that you and I got to know each other was because a local community theater actor friend I had in small town Pennsylvania told me about you, and that you had worked with one of my favorite / least favorite directors in Tom Ryersbach. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey, and then I went to school at Lycoming College in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, which I guess, are you from there, Isaac, or
No,
you?
I moved there. I'm not really from anywhere, but I lived in Williamsport for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So for half of that, because I went to school there. So while I was there, I got really, turned on to contemporary plays and started a little theater company called Trap. To read a play was the short or the long version of it. And that because I had some like-minded classmates who really just wanted to get together and read plays, and we wanted to connect with the community. We felt sort of like the campus. It was really easy to be in your own bubble, and so we decided to branch out, and that's how I met Tom. And then Tom invited us, to do some readings with his theater company, and I got to meet all these awesome actors in the area. Yeah, that's how that happened.
So the Trap, was that kind of like a reader's theater then?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we would do readings at the community center, the community arts center. We did readings at the art space in town. I'm
Pajama
totally
Factory?
blanking on the name. Sorry.
Pajama Factory?
We did do one at the Pajama Factory once, I think, but no, there was like a gallery in the middle of town that we did, and then Alabaster. We did them all over. We did them in Lycoming's Black Box, everywhere. Yeah.
Cool. So you were not intending on doing acting until you were in school then, or what?
I've been acting, since I was a kid. It's really funny to hear that paragraph out loud, because I wrote it sort of as a joke with a friend, and I was like, this is my personality. Let's throw it out there. No one's ever going to see it anyway, so whatever. But yeah, I've been doing, musical theater since I was a kid, and I can't dance. So I was like, I better figure something else out. And I went to visit Lycoming. I really liked their campus. I liked the feel. And it's a liberal arts school, so I thought, all right, I'll go there. I actually was a digital media communications major first, and music minor. And I ended up switching that around and becoming a theater major, although I think I might have been a double major, digital media and theater. But I ended up switching everything around. I was hoping I'd get into something like law or science or something. I don't know, but I just put my hands in more artistic places, and ended up graduating as a theater major and photography minor. So
I do think I've seen you do some. Have you shared photography somewhere?
Yeah, I do it a lot. I have my own little Instagram for that, Molly Collier Photography. It's a hobby, and also, I mean, a lot of my actor friends need pictures, and so few of them knew that I had that background. I tried to keep it hush for a little bit, and then I was like, you know what, I have a lot of fun doing this, so I started my own little side thing there.
So by any chance, are you one of those actors that's also a photographer that can do your own headshots?
I can. I don't really. I mean, my latest ones, I have a friend who's a photographer. I gave her my camera. She's got a great eye, and I was like, take some pictures of me, and she did it, and those are my latest ones, which is nice. But I do like to do the whole shoot and package and all of that when I can, because I want to support other photographers as well.
And also, they can pull stuff out of you may not be able to come up with on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Any that you recommend?
Yeah, Emily Lambert photography. She's amazing. and Miguel Herrera. They're both incredible. I've gone to Emily multiple times, and what I love about Miguel is that he really captures personalities more than just like a nice kind of pristine looking face. It's like you really get the essence of the person, I think, through the shot. And that's what I really love about his.
Nice. So talk to me, if you would, about who you were. I know that you were an actor from a young age, or performer from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Little Williamsport, Pennsylvania for Lycoming College, and then who that turned you into as an artist once you left.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big topic, because actually going to Lycoming really did help shape me. I guess I'll say my high school, my hometown was extremely competitive because it was so close to the city, and I think we had access to a lot of great resources and outward help from the town, and funding, and it was cutthroat. I mean, we all loved each other very much, but everybody was talented, and so many people from my school went on to become actors and artists and still are doing it, and I run into them, and it's great. But because of that, and that combined with my sort of lack of confidence at age 15, isn't the perfect mix for somebody who wants to go into show business, because you have to be sure of yourself and confident in your ability. And both of those, I didn't even think I was the best person at my school. So how was I going to branch out from there? Especially with musical theater, I can't dance really. My voice is more like a jazzy sort of situation than like a belting to the high heavens. But I love people who can.
Like Chanel with She and Him, like that kind of a, you know?
I would say, yeah, more in that vein. Yeah, a little Nora Jones sort of situation. But yeah, so I was like, this is just not going to work for me. So I went to Lycoming, and they were doing tons of contemporary plays. And that was sort of my first real introduction to that world. And I loved it. And I felt so confident. And I got the lead in the first play that I auditioned for. And I was terrified. I actually almost didn't even audition because my aunt, who I was very close with, had passed away, and her funeral was the same weekend as auditions. But there was like a scholarship thing involved. I had to go back. I had to audition. I did. I wasn't even thinking about it. I got the lead, and I was like, what the hell? It was my first, lead ever in my life. And that kind of started the whole thing. And so I just had such a great time, and I really felt like I found my element in the performing world. All of this simultaneously while my brother had just moved to New York City and started working with this theater company, Lambert, and telling me all about these plays and these playwrights that he was meeting, and sending me plays to read, and meeting people in the film program at Lycoming who were kind of into other sections. And it just was like the perfect storm of community and exposure at the exact same time. And it pushed me on this new path of contemporary plays and playwrights and short films and stuff like that. I will say at Lycoming, towards the end, I did not have the easiest time. Just in general, I think, it was difficult for me. I had a difficult time. But because of the difficulties that I sort of encountered there, I felt like it really pushed me to be independent and to be an independent artist, which helped me immensely and taught me so much ahead of time moving to New York, which is a place where a lot of things are self-motivated. I mean, most things are self-motivated. Probably anywhere really, but I'd say in New York as a kind of 21-year-old, 22-year-old, it's really important to have this work ethic. And so I think because I felt like I had to kind of make my own work in Williamsport, that lesson really carried over well into New York.
Hmm. You know, I did some work with the Lycoming College digital media, but whatever they're calling themselves now. But you know, as I was getting started, I did some student films like we all do, and they're great experiences because they have these fresh outlooks and they're collaborative. And then you know, got some of my other actor friends involved in screen work. So, did you find that to be a worthwhile experience, the digital media part of Lycoming?
Yeah, totally. And I'm actually still best friends. Her and her husband just moved here to Maplewood after she came to visit, with my friend Christina Moliterno, who went to Lycoming. And she's an animator for Rockstar Games now, and she was a digital media major at Lycoming, and you know, Leah really helped her out. And again, Christina's a person who has always had a really great work ethic. So yeah, like I said, I had like kind of friends in all these different pockets that really helped me explore all these different artistic sides. Chelsea Moore, another person who would just be shooting films all the time. And I just loved that kind of all of my interactions there were really creative. And a lot of that did come from the digital media department.
Yeah, I was trying to find a name here. Leah Peterson was the one that I was talking to most of the time. You know
Yeah,
her?
Leah Peterson. Yeah.
Leah,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She's great. I mean, I loved working with her. Yeah.
I had to look her name up because I thought you were perhaps talking about her, because she had talked about how envious she was that I was going to New York. She missed New York so much. But also you talked about, which I think is really a hot point for a lot of people. You moved to New York at 21, you said, right?
22, I think.
Okay.
Right on the border of 21 and 22. Yeah.
So, you know, since I've come here, I've been here for 2 years now. So I've befriended some people who are that age. They've come to New York. They want to be an actor because they were the star of their community theater or whatever. And this happens in LA and everywhere. They don't realize how much work is involved.
Mm-hmm.
To make your living on your dream is not easy. And so they, you know, after a little while, they give up and they go back. I think what happens a lot of times is they come to New York at that age. And if it's your first time in any major city at that age, how do you not get caught up in yourself and the party life and all that stuff at that age? How did you keep your vision intact?
I mean, I think it's different for everybody. Number one, the party life was far too expensive for me. You go out, I mean, I could barely afford my rent. I have this really distinct memory of being at a bar and having the thought of, I could have a beer right now, or I could do my laundry tomorrow. And like, you know, you have to make sacrifices. It's a really expensive place to live. And you know, I think it's as simple as a couple things. If you really want it, you're going to do it. Simple. If you're there for the right reasons, you're going to do everything you can to make it work. And I'd say other things, if the party life and that sort of thing is the thing getting in the way, then I don't think this is the correct career. But if it is like other very, you know, typical things like finances and stuff like that, that's more, to me, that's like much more understandable, because it is really hard. And then on top of that, I think for me personally, I don't know how I got it, probably my mother, but just this insane trust in my own gut, and thinking, you know, saying yes to things, going to everything. Oh my God, I went to every single thing that was free, that was anything that I could get my hands on, every play, every reading, everything. I worked at theaters as an usher so I could see plays for free. I saw great theater and bad theater, and all of it I learned so much from, but you just have to show up. Yeah, I think that is like any, there's this great, Philip Seymour Hoffman interview where they asked him to give advice to actors starting out, and he said, any opportunity you have to get in a room and act, do it. It doesn't matter if it's as a reader behind the table. That was probably one of the, I mean, I've done it a few times now, but the first time I did that was one of the most valuable days of education for me ever, being on the other side. It's invaluable, truly. And yeah, I just anything I could go to, anything at all, and introducing myself to people and putting myself out there. And yeah, you have to, be ready to leave that comfort zone and kind of put yourself in front of people and say, hi, I'm here and I'm ready to work. And then I think, as I did that and I sort of cast this net as far and wide as I could, then knowing in my gut what was the right path for me when things started getting offered,
Mm-hmm.
And what sort of projects I wanted to be doing. In the beginning, it was everything and anything, and now it's a little more, I'm much more cautious with my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, you're light years ahead of me in a lot of ways, because you started acting in New York how many years ago?
7, I think. Yeah. I mean, my first, my dad took me to the city when I was like 10, and to the Lion King auditions the first time. He's like, you're not going to get this part, but we're going to take you and you're going to see what it's like to go and audition for a Broadway show. So he took me, and I went in, I sang my little song, and they, they led the kids out, and it was very clear, like, if you were being let out, you were not going to be in the show. And I bawled and I bawled and oh my gosh. And, my dad said, finally we get to the parking lot, he puts me in the car and he says to me, hey, he's like, no more crying. You knew you weren't going to get it. And if this is what you want to do, then this is what it's going to be like. And I was like, I know, but I just want to cry for right now. And he's like, it's okay. Okay, you can cry. But like, I never forgot that. It's sort of like, so I had that sort of understanding of it since I was really, really little. So I've been around New York. I grew up 30 minutes from it. So I was always there. I hated it as a kid. I hated the city. When my parents said we were going to the city, I was like, God, why? It's awful. It smells. There's so many people. And if you had told me then that I would live there and love it, yeah, I would never have believed you. So I mean, like, officially there and pounding the pavement 7 years ago, and then, yeah. But since I was a kid, really.
That's you and I are very similar. I've been a performer all of my life before any of this, and I do think your parents deserve a lot of praise for making sure that you were aware of reality. But there's nothing quite like, it's a different thing when you come to New York and you're like, hey, this is Times Square, or this is my friend doing this, or whatever. This is my friend in a play.
Yeah.
When you actually come here and you're doing it every day, it changes everything. I hated this city as well until I started acting, because now it's an adventure. It's a playground. I get to get new experiences every day, all the time. But one of the things that stood out to me, you were talking about, or at least what it meant to me, was you were talking about community.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a big deal for you. And the way I met you via our friend Susan was she gave me your contact info through something, and I messaged you, and you were so generous with the amount of information you were willing to give this would-be New York actor that you didn't know at all. You barely had 2 connections with, and you're like, yeah, here's paragraphs worth of information, please. And so I've I think you and I perhaps have similarly generous hearts in that matter, but I've used your generosity with information as a template with the other people who are potentially aspiring New York actors. And I wanted to ask you, because you have had proper schooling in the arts. I'm not someone who went to school for, well, frankly, I didn't go to school. But I didn't go for art. And so I'm very much an autodidact, and I teach myself based on what other people have done. What are your thoughts on the differences between someone who has had proper arts schooling and then chooses to become an actor, as opposed to those of us who have just chosen to become it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have a mentor in mind who would kill me if he heard me say this, but I don't think that official schooling is the most important thing. I do think it's important to be educated. I do. And I feel that a lot of my understanding of the theater has come from having an education in it and all of that. But I would say, like, I think it's really a person-to-person thing. I do think it's important to take classes. I'll say that. I think being in an acting class is fantastic, and if you have the money, there's no reason that you shouldn't be taking a class in any sort of part of the field. I mean, I had no idea about voiceover, so I took a voiceover class, which helped me immensely. Taking an auditioning class. I mean, it's just good to keep yourself practicing. And what I like about a classroom setting is it's much lower stakes, and you can kind of just mess up, and you have that freedom to do that, which is great. Do I think like a 4-year BFA is crucial? No, not really. I think there's all sorts of ways to get educated. I learned so much from being an usher and sitting in and watching all these plays downtown. And I saw these, I'm working with some of these actors now who I've told them a million times, like, I remember seeing you in this reading off Broadway, and I thought, like, I was not introduced to that realism, and they kind of had all of their education that they were using, and I'm watching them, and I feel that I am learning from their performance, So I think there's all different ways to learn. Yeah, I think if you can get in a class, absolutely get into a class. There's a lot of really great acting teachers, and they have so much to offer. And I think read as many plays and see as many plays, and as much as you can. I think just try to soak it in like a sponge. But I think if you do have that desire to learn about it, it doesn't necessarily matter how you do it. I don't think there's any specific program that's going to make you more successful or whatever. Maybe Juilliard, but even so,
Yeah, it's interesting. I had somebody at some point said, just always be learning, always be taking classes. When I got here, I quickly just ended up getting, it was a lot of things. I said, like you, I said yes to everything when I first got here. So it was student films and things where I got paid $50 for showing up and whatnot. I didn't have time for classes because I was working.
Yeah.
And, but I have had classes. I took a Meisner master class. I've taken voice lessons, etc. But so I kind of wanted to know whether you would corroborate that and just say, yeah, as long as you're working, you're learning, so you're fine.
Yeah, I say you learn by doing, right? How do you learn to ride a bike? You get on the bike. You have training wheels, I guess. But you know what I'm saying? It's you learn by doing just as much. So if you are spending time working at it, I had a teacher who said to me, as long as you're doing one thing every day for your career, then you're great. And at the time I was like, that's not enough things. You should be doing 3 to 5 things a day. And then you'll run yourself into the ground. But I do believe that you learn by doing, and I don't think that there's a specific way to do it. I think especially in this field, there's the most important thing is the drive to do it, why you're doing it, and being honest and authentic. So however you can make yourself the most honest and authentic, I think that's what you should be doing.
I agree 100%. And I have a question for you about, first of all, you referenced my favorite actor of all time, Philip Seymour Hoffman. And he is someone that is versatile. He's elastic. He can be in that Ben Stiller movie being the guy that sharded his pants, and he can also be Truman Capote and whatever. I have kind of found my zone, or perhaps my comfort zone, in dramatic acting for a while. And I was brought up with comedy and slapstick farce, just funniness. And drama was this like final frontier I hadn't ventured into at some point. And so I've been loving it for so long. When I am ending a day or a night and I want to unwind, the last thing that I want to do is watch a dramatic film because I've been doing it and practicing it. So I want to put in something I can forget about. How is that for you in terms of, like, you're both comedic and dramatic?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
how do you not burn yourself out on one or the other, or try to keep learning in both of those ways?
I don't know. I think for me, I I really didn't want to be a comedic actor. For so long, I pushed against it. I was like, no, I am going to be serious. I'm a serious actor, and people are going to hear me seriously. And I do, Fool for Love and get laughs on a line that I thought was serious. And I'd be like, what the hell? And they're like, no, we love it. But it's still like, you're like, in my head, it was such a bad thing for so long. It was like, I'm not being taken seriously. And the truth is, like, that's just who I am. I'm like a foot and mouth, kind of awkward, not entirely sure what I'm saying all the time. And when that side comes out, that's the side people like to see, because that's the authentic, right, truthful side. And I think that it works. It can work well in either medium, as long as you're, or in either genre, as long as you're being truthful. As for like unwinding and such, I've been really into comedies lately, and I've been much more drawn to writing kind of funnier things. I think because things in the world are extremely tense. And I just finished a play at the Atlantic Theater Company, Halfway Bitches Go Straight to Heaven, by Stephen Adley Girgis, which is a beautiful, beautiful play, and a really difficult play, a really difficult world to live in. And this play we had the privilege of working on for 4 months every day, from 10 to 6 p.m. and just working and learning these characters and learning this world. And it was a really tough world. And we got to go to some halfway houses and places and get to know these people. And we watched documentaries and we had so many discussions and just about all these deeper issues. And it was heavy. I mean, it's heavy, but it's real, and it's in front of us every day in New York City. And I think it's hard, because part of living in New York is learning to desensitize to all that, because if you were to simply take it all in, it might kill you. But to actually have that as my focus for 4 months was hard. And so I'd come home and I watched Schitt's Creek and The Office and Parks and Rec and Dairy Girls and anything short and funny that made me laugh. And I think both of them are important, and both of them, Schitt's Creek, Dairy Girls, both of those have made me cry, like, because yeah, comedy has like a way of cutting to a deep truth and sort of playing with your emotions in a very different way than dramatic theater does.
So you are the last person we're interviewing today, but we are running short on time because I can only record so much. So I have two remaining questions for you.
Sure.
So one is, and neither are answered simply, I'm sure, but how has your profession changed since joining the union? And then number two, you've been working on a project, What Am I Doing Here, for some time now, and it does have a future, so please talk about that too.
Sure.
I have about 5 minutes of recording time left.
Great. So I wouldn't say that my career has changed very much since joining the union. I have health insurance, that's great. But I booked it in such kind of a fluky way. The show at the Atlantic, as well as getting into the union, both of those happened in kind of just a roundabout way, not really from the union itself. I will say, I mean, being in it is amazing because you get to go to all these auditions and you know that you'll get seen. I mean, it's amazing. And you get health insurance and you know there's somebody that you can go and talk to. But I was working as much as a non-union actor as I was as a union actor. So, of course, the money is better when you're union, and that's great. But I definitely don't think that's like a make or break thing, especially for beginners.
So you don't think that the competition is more fierce now to try to get a role? Like you're trying to get a role now in a union with where everybody's a competent actor. When you're non-union, you've got varying levels of competency that you're competing with.
I think there's varying levels all over. I know a lot of, fantastic actors who are unreal, just phenomenal, and they're non-union. So, I mean, I think the competition is fierce anywhere. I think it's one of the most competitive fields, and I think it comes down to also, like, I kind of have been trying to not use the word competition as much or competitive, because I do think that the best thing that you can give the business is yourself. And if you're thinking of it in relation to how you compare to others, you're selling yourself short and you're making enemies in your head that you don't need to have. Mm. I think you'll do much better opening yourself up to the community around you and looking to help those around you up, rather than thinking that maybe that person is in competition with you for a part. Maybe they are, but is that a helpful thought to have? I don't know, because at the end of the day, it might come down to the fact that she's blonde and I'm brunette, or I look like the director's ex-girlfriend who they hate. It's so much is out of your control.
Yep. 2 minutes left. I still want to hear about What Am I Doing Here. I have to say, though, and maybe you're the same, I don't know. Acting for me, I am a spiritual person, and this profession leads to more spiritual understandings like what you just mentioned. It's not really you versus anybody. So, but please go ahead.
Yeah, no, it totally does. What Am I Doing Here? Sorry, I'll give you the short version. A web series that I wrote with my friend Alex Riyad, about all the crazy side jobs that me and my friends have had in New York since moving there. My first job was working in Times Square handing out coupons for a big chain restaurant, and it was miserable. And I just always had this idea to write this sort of office mockumentary version of this person, and I just had so many different jobs that I was being told about that I was like, it's so much bigger than just one job. And so we wrote that, and yeah, we wrote 3 episodes and produced it, and it's great. It's on YouTube now. Yeah.
Perfect timing. I'm so sorry to force you to press that.
No worries.
Yeah.